At times, you are being asked to make y the subject of the formula. You are being asked to make k the subject of the formula, p the subject of the formula. Hi, how are you? I hope you are well wherever you are in the world. I hope nobody is listening. But if you are, please keep this to yourself. Let us change the subject of the formula involving the four operations, powers, and roots. Albert the astronaut. It is essential that during training, astronauts are able to calculate the velocity required to ensure the necessary lift. Rearrange this equation to help Albert find the velocity. Oh, Einstein, my dear, sleep well. Oh, we need to find the velocity that is v to be the subject of the formula. That is, in that particular formula, the formula of interest that we are looking at, which is L is equals to 1 over 2 dv squared s, capital letter C, capital letter L again. But let's go to the next step and let's see. That is us trying to help Albert. Things to remember when we want to help Albert. Don't rush it. You must go through each step of your method and not try to skip any. That will make sure that you don't make mistakes. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. You can't be doing things this side and don't do things that side. Whatever you do on one side of the equation, you must do to the other. For every action, there must be a reaction. For every debit, there must be a credit. If you are making x the subject of the formula, it means that this is the only x in your answer. Do you understand? You can't be having x on the left hand side and then have x on the right hand side. No. Let us look at example 1 and let us make t the subject of the formula. When we are being given r is equals to k minus ct. First things first. ct, we move ct to the right hand side of the equation. So what we did, we transposed ct from each side of the equation. Ct was negative. Now we transpose ct. That is why we have r plus ct. That is equals to k. But remember, it is t that we must make the subject of the formula. And you can have subtract r both sides. When you subtract r, or you rather take r to the left hand side of the equation, to the right hand side of the equation, it's just taking r from this side, taking it that side. That's why you are having an r being negative. When you transpose the r, it becomes negative. When you transpose the r, it becomes negative. And then you have ct is equals to k minus r. And then you divide both sides by c, so that on the left hand side you are only left with t, because ct divided by c, the c cancels the c, then you are just left with the at. And when you are just left with at on the right hand side, you'll be left with the k minus r all over c, because you just divided by that particular c. Then you realize that t, of course, is the subject of the formula. Your answer is therefore t is equals to k minus r all over c. What about when we are looking into that? Your goal later, when you go into grade 11 and 10, you'll realize that's about velocity and speed, that formula, and time, of course. When you speak of motions. First of all, we have to multiply both sides because we want to get rid of the fraction. So we will multiply by 2 both sides. You multiply 2 this side, you have 2s. When you multiply by 2 this side, the 2 cancels the 2 at the bottom. You are left with the uv multiplied by t. That's why you are just having 2s is equals to uv multiplied by t. And then because you are looking for it's u that is the subject of the formula, so you must be able to divide by t. You are left with 2s all divided by t, and then the other side, when you divide it by t, the t cancels the t. What do you need to do? Remember, you must be left with u alone, so you're just going to take the v to the other side, so you'll have 2s over t minus v, and that is that. Therefore u is equal to 2s minus 2s over t minus v. You've made u the subject of the formula, so it's important that you make you know how to make u the subject of the formula. Here, let us make r the subject of the formula. Check. There's a common factor r. There's h is equals to 2r minus a g small gr. So r is the subject. No, not the subject of the formula. It's a common factor, not the subject of the formula. It is a common factor, but you want to make it a subject of the formula. So you factorize, you call for the common factor. H is equals to the common factor r. Open bracket, you are left with 2 minus g. You divide both sides by 2 minus g. H over 2 minus g is equals to r. Therefore, r is the subject of the formula. Let's make the small r here the subject of the formula. You realize here we are going to use sets and exponents. Firstly, we divide by pi, both sides. We'll have a, that's an area, by the way, if you don't know, that's an area of a circle, hey? A is equals to pi r squared. A divided by pi, and then you are left with r squared on the right hand side, and then we put a square root on both sides. Whatever you do on the right hand side, you must do on the left hand side. For every debit, there's a credit. For every action, there's a reaction. Whatever you do on the right hand side, please do it on the left hand side. Put a square root on both sides, you'll be left with the square root of a over pi, all equals to r. Therefore, r is equal to that thing. Let us make h the subject of the formula. First of all, because you can see that h, ladies and gentlemen, you know this, h is below a square root. So to get rid of a square, you put a square root. To get rid of the square root, you square. So we are going to square both sides. We'll be having d squared on the left hand side. After squaring the right hand side, the square gets rid of the square root, and that is why we are left with 3h all over 2. And then you multiply both sides by 2. When you multiply both sides by 2, you're left with 2d squared is equal to 3h. But you are looking for h, ladies and gentlemen. You are looking for h, so you divide both sides by 3. That is why h is 2d squared over 3. Just to understand how this is done, the manipulation, or rather the making finding the subject of the formula, who can answer all these 4 questions in the fastest time? Can you? The following formula gives the volume of a pyramid where A is the area of the base and subject. Rearrange the formula to highlight the base area. What is the base area? The base area is A there in the beginning, number 1. So find A to be the subject of the formula. Number 2, what is the mass? That's M. Make M the subject of the formula. Can you do that very fast? Take a screenshot and do that. Be able to do that. And all the best. That is the end of our lesson. Goodbye.